everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm jumping into another narrative boss battler. I love that they're coming out with so many of these. This one is DANTE. This is going to be the rare two-part video. This one is just focused on, I think, what they call the Chronicle phase, which is sort of the narrative exploration aspect of the game. And the next video will show the boss fighting mechanics, and that one should be up on the channel this same week in maybe 2 or 3 days. And as always, we take no compensation for our crowdfunding coverage. We just want to help you make an informed decision. And if you like the content on the One Stop Co-op Shop, consider supporting us through Patreon. You get early access to our videos and exclusive videos every month you can't see anywhere else. You can also listen to our podcast for reviews and design discussions, or come and say hi and join the conversation on our Discord. So DANTE is, predictably enough, based on Dante's Divine Comedy. You and your characters are descending down into the circles of hell, exploring things and facing mythological and religious figures along the way. And you'll be getting these map cards laid out, which will form into kind of a cohesive picture. But there are lots of branching choices, so you aren't going to necessarily see every single map card in the pile. I already played through this tutorial, which is all that they sent me. I only have the one scenario. I already played through this on TTS1, so I'm going to try to make different choices this time so I can see how much variety there is. And then as you explore, you're going to be going in this book of Chronicles, and they'll have different entries for each location. And again, you'll make some sort of choose-your-own-adventure branching choices to affect things. And the main mechanical thing in the Chronicle phase is these Arcana cards. You're going to be doing these ordeals, kind of like skill checks, where you'll lay out several of these cards and then get a mix of blue and red cards and try to combine them mathematically to equal the value on the ordeal Arcana cards. And then you can spend these attribute tokens to redraw cards and improve your chances and stuff. But these same tokens are used in the boss battle to give you cool bonuses. So it's kind of like a give and take of whether you want to try to really succeed on skill tests or don't care if you let yourself fail. But then if you use too many tokens, you might make the battle more difficult. So that's kind of like the give and take between the Chronicle phase and the actual battles. And I'm going to timestamp everything, so if you get bored in the first entry or so of a lot of Mike narration, feel free to skip to the first and second ordeal. I think there's usually 2. At least the first time I went through this scenario, there were 2 of these checks, so you can see like the actual mechanical side of things. And yeah, this is a tutorial, so I'm going to be skipping over all the parts that like explain how to play it and just read the narrative and show you the mechanical side of the game. And by the way, before I jump into the Chronicle phase, I do want to show that kind of like Oathsworn did this too. Which other ones? Midara had like a kind of TLDR mode if you just wanted to get to combat. They are doing a quick combat mode where they have like sort of a summary of the, I don't know, a basic path you could have taken. And then it throws you right into the battle with, again, like a sort of approximation of what resources and items and things you might have had. So those of you who don't want to hear any of the narrative and skip this entire video, they got you covered potentially. Our story begins with the image of Dante Alighieri, the Florentine poet, happily wandering through a springtime field, as none of the worries of the flesh bother him anymore. He has been one of the exalted residents of paradise for nearly 2 centuries now, and life in its fullness has been simple and complex, the perfect definition of elegance. The man had plenty of time, and he used it very well to write the verses of what would be the masterpiece of his death. His life's journey, from cradle to grave, sang in the style of terza rima, which would make him forever famous. Dante had spent many years dedicated to this task, but he knows that this work is about to take a hiatus, for just ahead, sitting on top of a rock, the Archangel Gabriel awaits. The messenger is brief, although he has a lot to say. The poet was summoned in the name of all the saints for a new mission, to retrace his journey in the Inferno, as the greatest transgression since original sin has been committed. During the Holy Week, an order of knights who claim to be sworn to the faith have dared to raid the infernal lands. The horrors of this incursion, as well as the disease of the devils, should have been enough to dissuade them from such an invasion. However, these men's fervent belief in the sanctity of their supreme leader gives them the determination to make the unimaginable possible. The 7 heavens are appalled, both by this disrespect to the divine order and by the audacity of these mortals, as well as fearful of the catastrophes that are to come from this sacrilege. Such an army must be confronted by forces from beyond the land of eternal suffering, as for some mysterious reason, Minos, the infernal judge and guardian, has granted them safe conduct contrary to all his duties. What these men have been doing will certainly not only change the world, as the poet's own masterpiece did, but the destiny of all creation. And we are in Limbo, and we're exploring our first location, the Dark Forest. And they have a little Dante meeple here to represent where the caravan that's traveling together is. I'm sure that they'll probably have a miniature version of that, just like a lot of these things, but it seems to have standees and minis from what I can tell from the prototype. But let's get to the Dark Forest. Thus they follow, four strangers, through the Dark Forest. A turmoil of concerns revolve in their hearts as they walk through a land where everything is new, mysterious, and dangerous, as if they had become children again. Then, smelling the fear that spreads through the black grass like perfume, a symphony of howls, roars, and snarls announces the arrival of the predators, a panther, a lion, and a wolf. Intercepted by the three beasts, the travelers find themselves alone, each in their own world, separated by the darkness that has swallowed the forest. All that is left are thirsty stares and the strain of fighting for survival. Will this be the end of the road? So there are four characters in the game. From what I've seen, these are the only four, but they have a lot of variety in what they can do. And just like in Oathsworn, I love this mechanic. You can play them as like kind of helper characters or as full characters with an entire like deck and more mechanics. But here I'm going to pick one of them to have a little adventure. So we got the mercenary, artist, outlaw, and devotee. Outlaw would go after the wolf, artist the panther, mercenary lion or devotee lion. Let's go for the artist against the panther. The artist is kind of like a rogue. She was my favorite in the playthrough that I did before. The artist, unlike the other three, moves through the forest with agility and grace as usual, not making a leaf crack if she does not want to. As she sees the beasts appear before her, her eyes almost instantly sparkle with desire as she notices the beautiful fur of the fearsome panther. The idea of having such fur wrapped around her body entices her, but the thought of killing and skinning the creature also makes her sad to think of the suffering it would cause. As she notices the panther's eyes on her, the artist moves carefully, drawing her attention away from the group. The artist faces an ordeal, here we go, of prowess difficulty 3. So let me show you what this means. So as I said earlier, ordeals are kind of the main mechanic in the Chronicle phase. And this one said prowess and difficulty 3. I'll show you what that means in a second. But first I'm going to randomly flip up 5 of these Arcana cards. And they each have a value in the upper left, which is the most important thing at the moment. So 4 for the Emperor, 14 for Temperance, 22 for the Poet, 17 and 11. And then because the difficulty is 3, I'm going to draw 3 red Providence cards and 3 blue Diligence cards. And I then need to combine these cards in pairs, 1 red and 1 blue, 1 Providence, 1 Diligence, either adding them together, so like in this case 15, or subtracting one from the other. So in this case, 9 minus 6 is 3. And I want those combined sums or minuses to equal the exact value of Arcana cards. And to win the challenge, I need to do that for 3 of the Arcana cards, the same as the difficulty, which is pretty tough. So let's see, on first blush, I could do 10 minus 6 to get to 4 for the Emperor. I could do 6 and 8 added together for 14 for Temperance. But these are 13 or 5. So at the moment, I couldn't do 3 unless there's another combination I'm missing. But you have 2 ways to modify the results further. First of all, they said this was a prowess test. You start with 4 of each of the 3 stats, aggressiveness, willpower, and prowess. And for each one I spend, I can get rid of one of the Arcana cards, put it on the bottom of the deck, and draw replacements. It's a pretty blind chance that it'll actually improve your odds there, but at least it gives you some more options. And you can do that over and over, but remember, these same tokens are going to give you bonuses in the boss fights. You don't want to like blow them all at once if you don't have to. The other option, a bit tougher to swallow, is to offer the Arcana. So if you look down here, like the Poet, it says, if each champion is in a different area and aligned with each other, each champion receives Expiate 1 and gains Inspired. Otherwise, each champion gains Demoralized. So this actually becomes an extra card in the deck, I think it is, of what the boss will activate. So you kind of like add nasty cards, but you at least know what they are. But you add nasty activation cards to the boss's deck. So they might do like kind of creepy, weird things to you. But when you do that, you get an extra red card and an extra blue card, which, as you can see, kind of drastically increases your odds of success. And also, you remove that Arcana card, so if you then take the other option and spend a prowess or whatever, you'll get to replace 2 cards instead of 1, because the empty spot, if you offer an Arcana, doesn't get filled unless you then spend an attribute. So let me see real quick if I want to do that, or if there's some way for me to get any other cards. And yeah, I don't really have any high enough numbers to make the poet work. And this is a potentially positive activation. It's saying if we're all like in a line on the battle board, like standing in a line, I guess, that we actually get a bonus instead of a bad penalty. So sure, I'll offer this one up, which gets me another red, a 5, and another blue. And let's see if we can make anything happen before I go to the possibility of spending one of my attributes. Ooh, I think. Hold on. I can get to 9 and 5, get to 14, and then newly revealed 6 and 5 get to 11. So, boom! I have completed our first ordeal. I have gotten 3 of the arcana to be what they're called hidden, I think is the term they use when you happen to have fulfilled it. So, cool. I'll shuffle all of these up, although not the arcana that I offered up. That one is out of the deck now. And we're going to check out what the success result looks like for the artist. The panther, as the artist knows, having dealt with similar predators, approaches with curiosity. Stopping at a distance she judges to be safe. The artist, in turn, closes the distance between the two slowly, whispering sweet and affectionate words, trying to calm the beast down, even though she snarls at her. When she is no more than a step away from the panther, the artist moves quickly against the feline and delivers a sure and deadly attack, which makes the beast collapse at once. With the same grace as always, the woman places her hand on the animal in respect, then walks forward as if she was dancing with the wind. Okay, so now it says I'm going to get, you often get like rewards and things that'll come from these different decks. I get the Oboli Findings card. And yeah, work in progress, no art yet. So these, if I remember right, are one-time use cards, findings. Later you'll get things called artifacts that you can use over and over again. And then sometimes also the game will like check if you have some of these things for path options and such. Okay, when a champion in any range is about to suffer a wound, discard this card to block that wound. Cool, so it's a nice little armor card. All right, and that was it for the forest. We're going on to card 2 in position B1 and inspecting it. Here we go, the Hill of Virtue. By the way, I'll note, clearly everything in here is a prototype, but even like in the book I'm reading from, there are all these like notes about, hey, we might change this, hey, we might do that. So don't take anything I'm showing you as fully predictive of the final product. It's just how it might turn out. So you run to the hill to escape the wild beasts, each in their own world. To your surprise, all 4 of you arrive at the same moment at the top of the hill, looking for salvation. As if sensing that you are among allies, you turn your backs to each other and form a circle, waiting for the beast to attack, which now gather, 8 in number. Get away, vile creatures! The voice of a 5th person commands, its owner miraculously appearing among the 4 of you. He is tall, with a firm face, a strong nose, and wearing a red robe. On his head, a laurel wreath adorns his cap. Greetings, honorable travelers. I am Dante Alighieri, and I will be your guide through this blessed journey that is about to begin. The figure introduces himself as a famous Florentine poet you have already heard of. As if they recognize the authority of that man, the predators in silence return to the forest. Come, follow me. Now that we are together, we shall travel as one. Long is the way, so speed up the pace and listen carefully, for I have a lot to say and our time is short. Oh, I guess I wasn't supposed to have Dante, the pawn, on the board yet. From now on, the pawn will use to represent us. And, oh, that was it. We're going right to Region 3, the Infernal Gates. Don't those just look so friendly and inviting? Still confused, you follow the poet down a road that descends from the hill into the haze. Very little of the path can be seen, but the arch of a gigantic stone gate just ahead shows like a colossus. What is taking place, comrades, is sacrilegious. An army of knights from Jerusalem invaded these lands. Who knows how or why? Dante explains as you follow the path. Dozens of figures, pale, dull and naked, cross your path, wandering aimlessly. Such people do not seem dangerous, but the poet is more terrified of them than the wild beasts, that's for sure. We must find and confront them before the damage of this audacious assault is irreversible. To do so, our first task is to have a hearing with Minos, the infernal judge, and understand the reasons why he would allow these men to move forward. The poet concludes as you arrive at your destination. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here, is inscribed above the entrance to Inferno. The gates invite one to keep their distance, but perhaps that is precisely why mortals are so fascinated by the lands of eternal suffering. Alright, it says that whoever faced the beast is the caravan leader, which will like break ties in decisions and such. So I guess that's the artist. And we're going to go to card 4, the Shores of Acheron. I should have brushed up on my Greek and Catholic pronunciation. Here we go. Looks like a little village or something on the shores of a river. Passing through the Infernal Gate, you walk along a desolate road until you come to the banks of a quiet river. Many of those same naked people you encountered in the forest have gathered here, wading in waist-high water. Oh, see who awaits on the banks once more. A gray boatman with eyes blazing like embers provokes you. Slowly, his solemn rowing brings him through the mist to you. The one who has risen alive but not dead. This time it is 4 souls that keep him company instead of his protector. For the right price I shall take them all. But do not ask me for favors, he concludes as he comes closer. Charon, the ferryman. Dante salutes him, but you sense enmity between the two. Why do these people return? I do not suppose that is because you would wish to double your duty. They return, for they have not been damned. My duty is to lead the souls, not to question Minos' decisions. Now do not take long, either come or leave, for I am not here to talk. The grumpy ferryman concludes, leaving you with a choice to make. Alright, so, we must pay the toll with the finding we got, or take the pass of the indolent, or threaten Charon. That one seems like a terrible idea. So last time I didn't actually have the toll because I failed my first ordeal, so I'm going to pay the toll this time and see what happens. Here you are, 1 bolus for each except for the poet. Mercenary hands over the coins without negotiating, leaving the group intrigued by such a display of goodwill. Those of us who live by the sword have learned early on to pay the ferryman's tribute. My pockets are light today for several lira I have left with my fallen comrades. There is no more honorable service in all creation. He explains himself as Charon reciprocates with a courtesy bow. Come aboard, the crossing is fast, but I am always late. The gray-haired old man hurries. You hardly fit in the small rowboat, even though it holds up well to the new weight. As you gently sail through the dark waters of Acheron, Dante cannot help but notice in distress the souls that make their way back. Still, no one wants to bother him to understand what could be taking place. Shortly thereafter, you dock on the other side of the River of the Dead and continue your journey. The poet's steps are quicker than ever. Okay, so we get rid of the oboli, but we get an artifact, which again can be used over and over again, Charon's Rags. The free action, you may spend this card to receive Recall 1. Usually you can use these once per battle, and then they'll come back for the next battle. Now I forget what Recall 1 means, because it's been a while since I played the combat mode, but we'll see all that when we get to the second video. Okay, we are going to Region 7, the Castle Gate. So here, again, we could have drastically gone a different direction if we made a different choice. But we just row right to the gates. Taking the road from the wharf of the banks of the Acheron, you arrive at the gates of a wall so sturdy that even those of Constantinople are not as tall. Moats, barbicans, and towers beyond counting and beyond sight extend in every direction amidst the haze. There are 7 levels to these curtain walls which surround Limbo, Dante comments when he notices your amazed stare. Here we follow to the Valley, home of those who are good in nature but did not come to know Christ, that is, they were not baptized. The door to Minos' manor lies at its heart, he provides as a brief introduction. So it means that just living a virtuous life is not enough to be saved in his eyes? The artist lets out the words that weigh heavily on her. This feels wrong, does it not? She speaks timidly, fearful of committing heresy. Yours is a fair question, even though the answer does not seem to be. His love being the true guide, which the spirits of men need, not even the highest soul would ever find fulfillment far from him, any more than one can quench thirst by drinking wine alone, the poet explained, sharing the regret of the young woman. All right, and we are going on to the Limbo Bailey. On we go. In the rhythm of good conversation, you arrive at the Bailey, so wide and spacious they could even be mistaken for a meadow, mainly because of the vivid and contrasting green of the grass that sprouts here. Many buildings are visible through the mist along the way. You stop at one of them, a Greco-Roman amphitheater. The Florentine is thrilled, for you have come to find Virgil, his mentor on this very journey almost 2 centuries before. I am afraid, travelers, that since the night arrived, Minos has refused to receive visitors or to commit to his duty. The high poet delivers disturbing news when he hears of your venture. However, this fact clarifies the reason why some souls wander. They reach Minos' manor, but cannot go further. In order to assert his will, he commissioned none other than Julius Caesar, the defender of Alesia, to guard his gates. The judge most definitely will not be interrupted. But that was not all, for Virgil also had advice. Do not give in, Dante. Remember Saladin. He has beaten the walls of Jerusalem. Perhaps he can be of help. Nevertheless, I also saw that the mortals camped to the north. You could try to find something out from them, the mentor suggests, as he shows that he still has his ways. Finally, if you wish for a more direct approach, you can go to Minos' manor and deal with the Roman. I know he is a diplomat. Alright, so this leads to 3 path cards. So these are like options we can take. And if we were able to visit the Bailey again, we could pick a different option and they even say which resolution to go to here if you exhaust all 3. So we can visit Saladin, investigate the camp of humans to the north, or just go talk to Caesar. I went to Saladin the first time, so let's try the camp out this time. So that's going to be path 111. As you leave Virgil, you head to the invaders' camp. This time, very few souls cross paths with the caravan, and somehow, as much as everything here seems strange enough, you feel that something is out of place. I do not understand, poet. The outlaw makes conversation as he chews a straw. A camp? Are these knights so skillful that no one would molest them while they are vulnerable, building this settlement? Where are the jailers in this place? He inquires, intrigued. Your indignation is just, my fellow, but we are still just on the surface of this abyss. In Limbo, there are no demons or taskmasters who enforce the pronounced sentence. Here there are only virtuous souls, and not all of them are willing or able to react. Truth be told, the very nature of this place instigates its dwellers to apathy. Few are those that win the fight against such influence, Dante explains, even though he is not sure of the answer either. Or rather, that is what I want to believe. We're going to the Limbo camp. So apparently this is me going to, where the knights are that invaded? I didn't think I was going to meet them so quickly. I thought they'd already gotten past Minos. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. After a brief walk, you approach the enclosure mentioned by the High Poet. Tents hastily built behind palisades of dark wood. A column of smoke formed by the bonfires contrasts with the haze and indicates a presence in that place. Distracted by your inspection of a danger just ahead, you barely notice the one coming from behind. Emerging from their hiding places, a battalion of soldiers wearing plate armor and unknown tabards attacks you unceremoniously. Oh, we got another ordeal, and I never went this way before. Aggressiveness and prowess, which means you can use either one. Difficulty 3 again. Alright, so here's what we're starting with. I see red and array, 7 and 7 be 14. Then 9 and 10 would be 1. And that's all I can do with that combination, because I can't do a 0 or a 6 here. I could alternatively do 10 and 3. 10 minus 3 is 7. And then that would let me do 12 or 6, which doesn't help either. All right, so this time let's try an attribute first. So we have prowess or aggressiveness we can use. I'll go ahead and tick aggressive or prowess down to 3. So you start out with 4 of each. And that'll let me ditch one of these to the bottom of the deck and draw a new one. Again, I don't have any numbers that could even get close to a 21. So let's try replacing that with an 18. Doesn't help me much, does it? I'm looking for 12 or 6 or 0, or the 3 that I saw being easy to make happen. All right, let's try an aggressiveness this time, and then if that doesn't work out, maybe I'll try taking another arcana, which I don't really want to do. The moon is also too high, right? The highest I have is like a 10 and a 9. So let's do one more flip. Ooh, 12! Yeah! That's it, right? So 9 plus 3 is 12, 7 plus 7 is 14, 10 minus 3 is 7. Got it! Awesome. Didn't have to take another arcana. I like that. And to be clear, you can always stop these early and just suffer the failure, like whatever the failure happens to be, but I don't want to do that. However, the attackers misjudge the situation. Even though you were ambushed, your technical superiority prevails and the confrontation is soon dominated. Moments later, the repentant survivors run into the mist, thus ending the battle. The victory, however, is little celebrated. Dante urges you to move forward, claiming time is short, even though you can sense the regret in his heart by the frown you can see on his face. Are we more deserving than he is? The artist whispers to the poet, but the answer does not come. Then who is? I thought we were chasing a group of knights or something. I'm not sure who the he is here, but that's okay. Oh, we're replacing the region with Fallen Garrison. Interesting. And oh, we changed the cool art into work in progress, the same art. Like I said, early prototype, it's fine. Such a fight left you wary, but you move on, as you will need to investigate this place. If one more battle awaits in this settlement, so be it. You will not back down now. What you actually find is quite the opposite. A dozen ill soldiers tied to improvised stretchers. The ambush just now was nothing more than a deception to hide weakness through strength. Apparently, this venture has also had a cost to the invaders. Wait! A man wearing bloodstained garments comes toward you. Judging by the wariness on his face, he was responsible for those soldiers. Honorable souls, I beg! Take what you want, but spare these men. All they have now is their own lives, which were placed in my care. He is Hippocrates, father of medicine, as Dante introduces him. I swore to Apollo, Asclepius, Hygeia, and Panacea before all the goddesses and gods to use my art and aptitude for good. I do not know for sure, but I do know these patients are no longer a threat, the host pleads. But can you trust those words? Okay, so first we get the Armor Reinforcements Finding card. And again, these are single-use cards. Oh, this one has 3 charges, though. Whenever you take damage while this card is in your inventory, reduce that damage by 2 and remove a charge. When the last charge is removed, discard this card. It's pretty nice. So we stole some plate armor. I like it. Okay, Hippocrates asked for the enemy to be spared and might be worth negotiating. As a team, the caravan must choose. Okay, so we can accept his request or slay the soldiers. Although there is a note up here that they're going to probably have a third option to just spare the soldiers but steal stuff from the camp. But sure, I guess I'll accept Hippocrates' request here. Touched by Hippocrates' devotion to his duty, you grant his request and spare these helpless soldiers. This may not be the best decision if you only see these men as enemies, but it is certainly the most divine. A true dilemma. The poet's timid half-smile reveals his opinion on the subject. Thank you, travelers. The physician sighs in relief as he extends the beautiful staff he carries to Dante. Here, take the caduceus as a symbol of my gratitude. Since words fail to describe the weight you have lifted from my heart, this gesture might just do. He thanks you and explains, those men are my first patients in millennia. Being mortals, I can rest my mind as I know that I could, in fact, save their lives. So you leave the pitiful camp and head back to meet Virgil, doubtful. Part of you feels invigorated by having given someone life when you could have given them death, while the other part knows that sooner or later, every good deed will have its price. Okay, so we get the Caduceus of Asclepius artifact, and we go back to the Limbo. I see that when I went the first time, I did not ever come back to it. Here's a free action. You may spend this card to have a champion at any range restore one, which I'm guessing is healing. That seems pretty awesome. And all right, again, I went to Saladin last time, so let's go just talk to Caesar right at the gates of the manor. Let us head to that judge's house immediately, says the mercenary, while you decide what to do. I feel we have been going round and round without getting anywhere. There are things that can be solved with politics, but there are also things that can only be solved with swords. When warriors are involved, the second option works, he argues, exposing his own experience. As you agree, you follow the path that leads to the heart of Limbo. Souls beyond count, in line and with their heads down as if their vigor and will had abandoned them, keep you company. Ahead, a keep built as if it were a palace appears on the horizon. The spiral staircase leading to the court of Minos is within it, but its wide wooden gates are closed, and the traveling souls crowd before it by the hundreds, unable to advance. There, inert and piled up, little by little they will awaken from the inebriating torpor imposed by the circle, realizing what they now are, lost souls. Many of them lament their fate, but others, as you've already witnessed, will take the path to return. Alright, here we go. We're going to Gates of the Castle. Alright, I doubt things will be this easy, but possibly. Let's see. Elbowing among the lost souls, you arrive at the gate, guarded by the magnanimous Julius, who watches the miserable ones from a balcony. Hail Caesar! Dante salutes the ruler. Looking up from the lower ground, you are like the brave Gauls at the Battle of Alesia. What is the reason for the underworld court to be in recess? Such a fact alone is no stranger than that of Pater Julian to have become a doorman. I beg your pardon the lack of decorum, the poet inquires, intrigued. This position dishonors me, yes, but I swallow my pride out of love, the Roman responds to the provocation. I will do as the judge says, for when I heard that my dear Brutus had been damned to spend eternity being chewed by the devil himself, I forgave him. I intend to find the means to intercede for him. Get away. Minos has been busy, he explains, immovable. Your guide knows Caesar well enough to know that there will be no force capable of persuading the gatekeeper. Frustrated, he finally suggests that you turn around. Okay, so we get the essence of your finding. As a free action, discard this card to recall one. I think it maybe gets like action cards back for you. And then, oh man, if the caravan has the angelic sword artifact, we can go to 114, otherwise dang it. Sounds like I could have done something. Cool, Caesar is movable. Frustrated by the meeting with Caesar, you leave the gates and make your way back to Virgil's amphitheater. Along the road, Dante's concern grows. Poet, what is it that disturbs you about these lost souls? The outlaw asks, voicing your curiosity. Ever since you saw the first one still in the forest, you have been uneasy. Just a little while ago, when crossing the Acheron, I noticed how you looked at those unhappy people along the river. What's on your mind? The man is practical, direct, and very observant. That could not be denied. Minos has been busy. Caesar's words escaped the Florentine's lips. And it all started when the other mortals came. What could the knights have done to Minos to make him close his doors, he questions. Without being judged, comrades, Dante resumes, the newly dead are fleeing from Inferno. That is what is taking place. He stops at the exact moment you arrive at your destination, interrupting the subject that had barely started. Oh, I guess we're back in Limbo. And we are going to go visit Saladin. Cool. Julius Caesar's success in defending the city of Alesia made him a powerful man and an expert in sieges. Few strategists could be considered as ingenious as he was. However, if we imagined men with such reverence, Saladin would certainly be one of them. The Sultan became famous for his success in the Third Crusade, frustrating Christians under the command of the one who would become the Lionheart. The Ayyubid was great on the battlefield, but it was in truce that he built his reputation. Saladin fulfilled the code of chivalry so skillfully that it could make Christians envy. Dante praises the ruler who recovered Jerusalem from the Crusaders after nearly 90 years. Careful, poet. Speaking of a man like that, sharp tongues would even say that you secretly admire him, the outlaw teases, but his tone is that of mockery. I dare even say that this thought has already occurred to the beautiful maiden. He turns to the devotee with a malicious look in his eyes. The woman remains silent as her frowning gaze proves to be judgmental by itself. Following constrained steps, you move forward. Alright, so now here I have been before, although I think there were multiple options to talk to. The House of Ayyubid is a true palace, built to live up to Saladin's reputation. Vaults, tiles, gardens filled with apricot trees, and a fountain from which pours perhaps the only pure water in Inferno decorate the place. It would take many men, perhaps even more than can be found in this place, to overcome this siege by force, the Sultan ponders as you ask for his advice. However, not all victories are achieved on the battlefield. I will show you the path to Daedalus's workshop, the architect who designed Minos' manor. I imagine that in this case a subtle approach might be more efficient, he offers as a solution. You are satisfied with the proposal already, but Saladin has one more piece of information to share. Come to think of it, wait, he continues. It seems that he has provided us with a second path. Shortly before your arrival, I saw a European knight patrol to the east. At first I took them for crusaders, but I soon realized the coat of arms they carried did not resemble those of my former adversaries. Perhaps these are the men you are looking for? Alright, last time I went to Daedalus's workshop, let's check out the night patrol. You choose to take the opportunity to confront the invaders while fulfilling one of your devious tasks. Following the trail left by the smoke, you find the soldiers with their armor relaxed, chattering absently around a campfire, not far from where Saladin had described seeing them. One of them even carries a wooden desk on his lap full of papyrus. Cartographers, the outlaw whispers as you stealthily watch. They are mapping the region. This is not a raid, they are here to stay. And that was all the mercenary needed to hear to spring into action. Oh, difficulty 3 again, aggressiveness and prowess again. We've done this before. Ooh, now this time, this is very interesting. Wait, you can't quite see. There we go. Look, all of these are within very close values of each other, which might be better for me. I'm not sure. Let's see how things turn out. Okay. So I've got 7, 9, 11, 12, 14. So 7 is the lowest, so like 3 plus 4 could be 7. 4 plus 8 could be... Oh, wait, is it really going to be this easy? All right, I will take it. I will take it. Driven by the mercenaries' recklessness, you take advantage of the knight's slackness and jump them while they are off guard. They try to react, but the fight was already decided before it even started. Dante, however, remains in hiding. He does not condone violence. Even though he knows on this journey he will have to learn to deal with it, as you do not aim to distress the poet any further, you accept victory without chasing the men, making do with the loot they left behind. The map they were drawing looks accurate, but does it show someplace different? Alright, the caravan takes the Limbo map discovery card. This one's different. Despite the confusing scribbled lines, you can see what the scout did the best he could. If the caravan discovers a way to better interpret this map in the Chronicle phase, it's possible a secret will be revealed. Okay, cool. I'll just hang on to that for now. Time is short, and the caravan needs to take the next step. If the caravan has the blood-stained letter, what? Geez, so there's still other paths to be seen? Even after, okay. I don't have that. Otherwise, check if there are still any path cards on Region 8. There are not. If you can't make that choice or choose not to, advance the caravan to the Limbo Bailey. Oh, I'm going to do like the you have no options option now. Alright, so this is when you've exhausted every other option. Your honor offers a truth. Then, even after having followed all of the suggestions offered by Virgil, you find yourselves lost once again. The poet's sad face shows his disappointment in comparing himself to his mentor for having failed the task that he did not fail in his time. It was then that, to everyone's surprise, Julius Caesar appeared through the mist, accompanied by a battalion of knights wearing the colors of the order. Hail, gladiators! Keep your weapons drawn, for I come in peace. The dictator salutes you. The many wanderings that have taken place recently disturb my Minos' peace of mind, and, so that you can become great friends and cease hostilities, he will grant you an audience. As any good Roman, the conqueror was versed in the art of diplomacy. The offer sounds like a trap to the artist, to the mercenary, and to the outlaw, but not to the devotee, nor to Dante, despite his reasons being different from those of the maiden. With no better alternative, you accept the offer, ironically intrigued to receive what you have been looking for. Alright, and that's the end of the Chronicle phase. Darn, I didn't get to go to the workshop, although I've been there. I didn't find the sword, I didn't have a letter. All kind of interesting stuff I could have done. So going into the battle, I've got path and discovery cards. I don't think those will matter for the actual combat. I've got most of my prowess and aggressiveness, all my willpower. And then I've got the Essence of Yore and the armor reinforcements to use once, and then they're gone. And I've got the Caduceus to heal, and the Charon's Rags to recall a card that I can use in this battle and every battle going forward. So those don't go away. But there are a lot... Gosh, there's so many discoveries and findings and artifacts that I didn't get. All right. So let me give... Since this is a split video, I'm going to give my thoughts on kind of each split part of the game. So what do I think of the Chronicle phase of Dante? And the big caveat here is, all I've seen is this. I've played through this exact same tutorial scenario. This is a tutorial twice. And this one's very linear. Like, yes, at the end, you clearly have some splitting. You have like a little choice to make there. And I still haven't seen everything that the thing has to offer. But I don't know if this will be the format of what the other scenarios will be. Maybe they'll be more free-form, sort of Seventh Continent Tainted Grail style. You can explore whichever way you want. Maybe they'll be as linear as this one was. It's hard to say. But with that caveat out of the way, I do like the little discovery of locations things. I'm a big fan of the games I just mentioned, Seventh Continent and Tainted Grail, and this has like a bit of that feeling to it. It's not like Aeon Trespass Odyssey, where a lot of the map is kind of like random and doesn't matter that much. But that being said, in essence, the map is kind of random. It doesn't matter that much because it's really all about the reading in here. So first of all, if you don't like to read, you're going to want to do the quick combat option for this game, or something else. This might not be the game for you. But for someone who does like narrative story ones, I like this okay so far. There are some things I would like to see them add. I feel like the characters were just kind of thrown in randomly. They had mentioned in one of the like work in progress like call out boxes that they might have a bit of like a prologue or a description of each character. But as it is, you know, the devotee like smiled once, the outlaw talked 3 times, the mercenary twice, the artist a few times. I feel like I barely know anything about these characters. And like a little, you know, background paragraph, a little section for each one, a little intro that tells like how they got down here. I don't know why they're in Limbo with Dante. Any of that would be cool. So there are parts of the narrative that feel a little bit vague. Also, I don't have like a cool enough or a good enough understanding of the order we're chasing after. It seems from the way some people said like he sometimes that there's one particular like leader of the knights that we haven't met yet, but that could be a little bit more clear, I think. The actual writing seems fine. It doesn't waste your time too much. It doesn't go on and on forever. There are a few like kind of weird grammatical things here and there, but I don't think this whole team is native English speakers. I could be totally wrong about that. So I'm guessing that they'll, you know, go through more passages and kind of fix it, that kind of stuff. But even with this very early prototype, I didn't notice anything that was like super rough. I very much like the branching as a choose your own adventure fan. Again, the fact that I have played through this exact scenario twice and had a completely different ending resolution each time and have a ton of cards I still have not seen. It seems like I could play through this at least 2 more times and find different endings. Now, you know, kind of like to compare it back to Oathsworn, kind of like Oathsworn. Is it really going to matter? Is it going to like actually change, you know, the fact that I'm just fighting King Minos either way? Maybe not. Although I do want to say I've cheated a little bit. I won't spoil it for you. But there are actually different confrontation objectives for each boss, or at least for this first boss. And I haven't discovered this yet, but I know kind of what I'm trying to discover. There is a way that you can end the scenario that gives you a different confrontation card and changes up what you're supposed to do in the boss battle entirely, even adds a different character into the boss battle. So that seems cool. That seems like something that I never saw, for example, Oathsworn do. And would certainly give the battles more replay if there's like an entirely different way to kind of see the battle play out and have different forces in the battle. So, you know, again, this is just based on one partial prototype, but I do like the ideas there. And again, I like the variety in what can happen and the like items you can unlock and all that kind of stuff. Now, as for the mechanical piece, these ordeals, it's fine. It's interesting. You know, it has like a little bit of quick math. You saw in that last ordeal that sometimes you just get lucky and everything just works. You don't have to do anything. And then most of the time, it's really tough. Sometimes it's super tough. It's also very random when you spend the attributes and flip a new card, and that might not work at all. So you could just be spending stuff for nothing. So it's not like the most intriguing skill resolution system I've seen. It's really random and swingy, but it's also kind of cool. I do very much like the end result of it in that your choices and like whether you really push to win a check or not will affect the battle later on, especially adding these Arcana cards to the enemy's battle deck, but knowing what they are so you can kind of prepare for them tactically with your options. That whole part seems really awesome. The actual skill checks themselves are just fine. Like I don't know, it's a skill check. Yeah, I could be rolling dice. I could be pulling chits from a bag. Like whatever. I don't really mind it. It's doing what it needs to do. It only takes a few minutes. You have some choices. You have to think a little bit. Some stuff happens based on your choices. That's all I need out of a skill chest system. It's not the best one I've seen. It's not insulting me in any way. But there you go. That was part 1 of DANTE. This game is coming up. I should be posting this video well in advance of the actual crowdfunding campaign, but I'll have a link to somewhere you can subscribe to find out more. And in a couple of days, 2 or 3, or right now, if you go on Patreon and look at the early access, I should have a video of the actual boss battle against Minos to show you kind of the core combat mechanics in the game. But thanks for watching, everybody. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.